welcome to another video on the JayBee and Milly channel. Today we are going to be reviewing Scooby-Doo and Krypto 2. So this is the newest movie. As of recording this, it came out 2 days ago?
About that, yeah.
And we've just had time to record this now, so I'm excited to explore your thoughts and my thoughts on this, because I certainly have some points that I really want to say about this movie, and I assume that you do too. So getting into it, what was your thoughts on the announcement of Krypto 2 and kind of the idea of these two coming together?
I mean, I think I should preface this with some bias, because genuinely, I do feel like I'm going to maybe be treating this movie a bit unfairly, just because a part of me kind of thinks we could have got a really nice, charming Christmas special that would have been a really nice prequel, and based on the things that we've heard behind the scenes, it would have been such a great callback to Where Are You, and also would have brought back Patrick Warburton as Sheriff Bronson Stone, but that was trashed in the bin. Then we could have had the Hex Girls, reunite for their own movie. It could have called back to Oakhaven and some awesome musical numbers that we may or may not know a bit too much about than we should have, but that was thrown in the trash can. And instead we've got a crossover with Scooby-Doo and Superman's dog. So, yeah, I mean, I don't hate Superman. I think Superman's okay as a character. I'm just not too into DC, to be honest. So when I first heard that this was announced, it was good news because there's Scooby. But, it's like when only one of your children come to visit you at Christmas and it's your least favourite. You know what I mean? That's probably a bad analogy, but yeah.
No, I know what you're saying. And I think, if anything, this fully epitomises Warner Brothers. They had 2 movies that were heart and one that was business, that was promoting something else they'd done, and they went with business.
It's like their Flash movie struggled to make money. The Flash struggled to make money. So how in heck they thought that Krypto the Superdog was gonna be some massive money thing? This is the one worth releasing. I don't know, but I'm going to try my best to judge the movie as it is and not keep comparing it to what I wished I was watching instead, because I know that can often be a bit of a risk with stuff. Even watching something like Return to Zombie Island, it's I just want to watch Zombie Island. So I'm going to try my best to be fair with this, but so far, based on the premise alone, not really excited for it.
Okay. I can see why you feel that way. I didn't expect it to be me that was coming to this movie's defence, but apparently it's going to be. So let's get into it a little bit. We start off with a cold opening. It's the museum at night, and to me this seemed very much like the opening of Witch's Ghost. And at the minute we're also going through and reviewing all the Guess Who episodes, and something that I said about that is that it tries to be the audience's friend. It tries to give them something that they can latch onto from a previous Scooby-Doo. And that's very much the vibe I got here. I got clear feelings of Witch's Ghost with the museum at night, and then we see that almost molten style villain that almost reminded me of the Phantom Virus in its shapes and movement.
Yeah, I thought that this was maybe the best way that it could have opened, because I didn't really see it too much as that weird thing you keep saying about making friends, you know what I mean? Friend finders, Facebook, Club Penguin, let's waddle around, make new friends. But I was seeing it more as a great blend between the two genres, because it was a cold open as you expect it. You don't need to know that it's Lois Lane and Jimmy Olsen. It's person A, person B. They're walking around a dark corridor while something Phantom-esque is on their trail. But mixed in with that, you've got Easter eggs that if you know, like the Daily Planet being on the floor. And I know enough about DC and stuff to know that, the Daily Planet is where Superman works. A little bit like the Daily Bugle for Spider-Man. So I was glad to see that there was a lot of Scooby traits in there, despite it being, a superhero mashup. And it still kept enough of the superhero identity that I think it blended it in a way that something like Scoob never really quite found, at least not in the middle section of it. So I think it was a good opener.
Okay, that's interesting. And of course then we get to the titles, which I thought perhaps were a bit of a letdown compared to some of the titles that we've seen. Some of the titles we get are in an entirely different art style that we've never seen before. You can get excited about it, wish for an entire series in that style, a song that you can keep singing. Whereas for me, this was very, very forgettable.
I thought the song was okay. I think it's called Where Only Heroes Go, or Where Heroes Go. And it didn't not entirely fit. It was good because it was, superhero-y. It's just, I think the visuals, at least at the start, could have been a bit better. Because we got an opening, and on one hand, I'm thinking it's like Back to the Future. But then on another hand, it was a little bit like Star Wars. And at no point in this is there any sci fi elements, any cosmic elements, or even any allusion to time travel. So I thought if they were going to do a superhero intro, just make it a bit more superhero like. I think the best example that I remember, and I remember discussing this when we first reviewed this, was Mask of the Blue Falcon. Because I think they redid the whole intro like a comic book, like comic book panels. And I thought maybe again if they did that here it'd be a bit too samey. But I think that there's enough superhero movies out now that you could have done some type of parody on the genre. Because ultimately, and actually this is an interesting point, I think a part of the reason why I'm a bit drained with this movie is a bit of that superhero fatigue, like, cliche. Because I think it gets there in the end. But yeah, I'm happy with the intro enough. I thought that when it got to the visuals of each member of the gang was given a Justice League power, like Shaggy with the super speed, I love that a lot. It's just the rest was kind of, it was good. It's just I don't think it fit the tone of the movie entirely.
Okay, I think I can agree with more or less everything you'd said there. And then, of course, typical Scooby-Doo formula. We've had the cold opening, we've had the titles, now cut to the gang in the mystery machine, where, Shaggy and Scooby get given Scooby snacks. The gang are driving into Metropolis.
Yeah. Can I speak bluntly for a second?
Yeah.
If an article on Screen Rant was published, nothing to the movie changed. Nothing about the movie would have changed. Like, say the movie's kept the same. But if there was an article on Screen Rant or Looper, or if someone from the movie came out and announced that they'd race swap Daphne, there would have been outrage. But because no one's alluded to it, no one cares. This Daphne is brown. Like, she's out and out a brown Daphne.
I mean,
I don't know if it's the saturation on our screen or what.
I mean, this is kind of an interesting point about how nothing this movie is.
One thing that isn't nothing is that awful performance by Kate Micucci. Like,
which one?
She was insufferable at the start of this. Like, I do think I get used to it as it goes on, to be honest, to the point where I didn't notice it by the end of it. But in the first opening moment, it actually hit me so hard that I'm like, oh god, like, where's Mindy Cohn? Like, what? Like, where's Mindy Kaling? Like, where's any other Velma ever?
Yeah, Kate Micucci's voice is horrific as Velma. It really is. I can't speak on her other work, but no, this Velma voice just is not it. And then, like we say, we're going into Metropolis. We're seeing all these typical villains, or at least I assume they're typical DC villains. I've never seen DC really. What's your thoughts on Fred simping over, is it Harley Quinn?
Yeah.
And then as soon as Daphne has somebody that thinks that he was her boyfriend, Fred's getting all defensive and upset.
See, it's weird, because on one hand, I don't like when they try and make it a relationship triangle, like a love triangle, because I think that either they do that and it wastes everyone's time because we know it's going to go nowhere, or they do it and it serves nothing more than just to add unnecessary conflict with the characters. And here it's kind of like, this Harley Quinn's crazy. If it's Margot Robbie Harley Quinn, I understand the simping, but it's like crazy Harley Quinn. So I don't really understand what Fred's getting at there. But then it's like, well, why include that? Because there's enough tension, if they are going to do the tension thing, with the Jimmy Olsen storyline. Because ultimately, the Harley Quinn thing goes nowhere. Like, and you could maybe even argue it, like, it could have been a good thing eventually. Like, when Harley Quinn is chasing them, Fred could have gone, oh, because I know so much about Harley Quinn, I know that her weakness is X, Y, and Z, and that could have been helpful with the chase scene or to resolve the conflict. But it does absolutely nothing. It's almost like they went behind the scenes. We're going to have a love triangle here. We can either do Harley Quinn or Jimmy Olsen. Someone started the Harley Quinn plot, and then they decided to go to the Jimmy Olsen plot, but they forgot to delete the Harley Quinn setup. So it's just, it was fine. It's just, well, why have that in there if Fred's going to be a bit contradictory later? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, it does seem a bit ridiculous. And we're getting into the plot. We start to go through the movie now. One scene that I did like is when the valet loved that it was a normal van and you kind of see the invisible ones and all that sort of stuff. I don't know if you cared about that.
And that valet is called JayBee. and I can confirm that this was based on me, and I will be filing a lawsuit to Mr. David Zaslav by the end of the week. But we can't discuss that for
Honestly,
legal
that would
reasons.
be the least of my problems with David Zaslav, let me tell you.
I will be suing his bottom off in court.
They also then begin to go on the tour of is it Justice Hall?
Which one? Oh, it's like the Justice Society building, the Hall of Justice.
It's something like that. They start to go on a tour of
Justice
that,
League Tower.
at which point they see the villain. We get a brief side of Shaggy where he like fires arrows at it and stuff, which is always fun to see a different kind of arc from him.
Yeah, I think it's nice. Again, though, it's just... I don't know. I feel like it's just showcasing Justice League stuff for the sake of it. It's just a bit of a waste of time, but it's not fun. Mm-hmm. It's just stuff happening.
This is also where we meet Krypto, and I will say I'd much rather have Superman's dog than Superman. I think that they were a better character than if they tried to do this with Superman, and I also really liked the dynamic that it leads to between Krypto, Shaggy and Scooby.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can... I think I can agree enough to Superman, but a part of me is a bit like... We could have had a Superman mashup, but I almost wish that you could have done that with Krypto in that. I think it's a shame that Krypto can't talk, because all Krypto does is bark, which, again, dog can bark. Okay, that's pretty standard. But then it's a little bit like, well, how are we meant to connect with Krypto? Like, this is Scooby-Doo and Krypto too, yet Krypto doesn't say a word. And in and of itself, that isn't a massive issue. But when you think about, like, already now I'm thinking about so many other characters that made it more of an impact in me. And actually, I think Krypto is overshadowed by both Lex Luthor and Rex Luthor, and even the Lex Luthor's assistant. I just think that for all Krypto isn't a bad character in this, I actually quite like some of the stuff they do. It shouldn't be called Scooby-Doo and Krypto too, because I feel like Krypto is so almost sidelined in his own movie, essentially. Like, whereas with Courage, the Courage movie, we had Nowhere as an actual, in and of itself, a new character. A secret about Nowhere was revealed, and we have the backdrop of Metropolis here, but it's just a set piece and nothing more.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I can agree with a lot of what you are saying, but I do think Krypto was really sweet, especially in, that the say it and it appears room, the kitchen.
Yeah.
That
acknowledged.
That was just so nice to see their dynamic together and everything. Although, to some extent, you have to agree that a lot of this was let's list DC characters to give them some promotion.
A bit, but I think as well, they do a good variety. Like, I'm glad that it wasn't the standard. Like, we get Joker, yes, but I'm glad it wasn't just people that we knew necessarily. Like, they didn't just go, let's have Riddler, let's have Penguin. They tried to go a little bit out there with Giganta, and because I didn't know who Giganta was, or not Ted Bundy, the other one, the Grey Creeper. I don't know why I'm saying Ted Bundy. The Grey Creeper. I didn't know who they were. Solomon Grundy, that's his name. So I'm glad that they showcased some of the unknowns. But yeah, I thought it was a bit odd. And I don't understand the rules of the room, because I like the setup. It reminds me of the start of, I think, X-Men 2, where they're fighting the Sentinels in a simulated room. It's actually really cool. But then it's like, well, what part does the kitchen play in it? Like, was the kitchen real? Because everything dissolved eventually, or was nothing real at all? And if so, how much can you interact? I'm overthinking it way too much, but it was quite an important part later on, and this is the setup. And I don't think it does a solid job solidifying what is possible and not possible within that room. Like, if it was just a joke and they didn't mention it again, it wouldn't matter.
I almost see it as a Justice League training room. You know how in Hunger Games 2, Catching Fire, where, like, there's all them people running around Katniss when she's got the bow and arrow and she's shooting at the holograms? I almost see it as that. You can have a situation, you can bring in any villains you want, and it's the Justice League training room.
Bro, so you could have a room where you can, like, beam in Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn.
Moving swiftly on.
That's crazy.
For me, this movie is a lot of just, we have this scene, then we have this scene, as opposed to scenes tying together. And I think a part of the movie that illustrates that quite well is, Fred finding Batman's belt.
Yeah.
Again, it's just a scene that happens, then we're on to the next. There's a gimmick about it, then it's forgotten when they go down the laundry chute because we're moving on to something else. And I think that's what it is. For me, it's lots of scenes that don't piece together incredibly well. I know then we have kind of like, I think what's meant to be the big chase scene.
Yeah, and can I just say, I am so glad that the last few movies have started to introduce chase songs back. Like, we had Ballroom Blitz with Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo, which is an absolute classic, and I like the song here. It just doesn't work on any level with the movie. Like, it's a good song. I would download it, I'd buy it, I'd get it on CD, vinyl, I'd listen to it casually if they released it. But it's to be brave and they're running away.
Can I jump in here?
That's
I disagree with you.
ridiculous.
I wouldn't download the song or listen to it again. When you said Ballroom Blitz, I started humming it. I only watched this yesterday and I couldn't tell you what the chase song was.
It's like, oh, there's no need to scramble. Oh,
It sounds
nothing
terrible.
you can't handle.
I remember not being impressed with it
You're
at all.
the best example when you show the world what it's like to be brave.
See, I remember when we were watching Guess Who, you were like, just give us any song in the background of a chase. We'll be fine with it. To me, this is the movie that proves you wrong. This song was not a chase
I like
song.
it a lot. I enjoyed it. I would download it.
No.
I would download it. I like it a lot. I just don't think it fits in with the movie at all.
Yeah, at least perhaps wrong time, wrong place. Yeah. But it just wasn't the song for this. And then I feel like, do we start to move to the unmasking here?
I don't. Well, what unmasking are you on about? The one that's kind of leading in, like
the first one, the valet one, the Lex Luthor's driver one.
Yeah, so we're on that section. I mean, we've skimmed over quite a lot of this, to be honest, but really, I think it's because a lot of it's a bit of noise without too much substance, but it's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, I do want to touch on a few things, because just before that, we've got a group of molten phantoms that kind of swarm everyone. And we've got another joke about Daphne and Jimmy, which I do like. I think this played very well by DeLisle. The issue is, and you can say the same thing for Zombie Island, where we have allusions to the overall plot. Like in Zombie Island, a zombie literally hands Shaggy a vine to help him save Scooby. Now, as a kid, I was not paying attention to that. I didn't know. And so the twist hit me like a sucker punch. And you could say that if I was a kid watching this, it could again hit me like a sucker punch. But there was such an obvious allusion at the start to the molten phantom kind of holding his arms out, like pleading with Velma. And you have a good zoom in on the phantom's face who's clearly upset. And now here again, all the phantoms show up. And there's one that obviously looks like Hawkman. There's one with long hair. We know that traditionally there's only one female member of the Justice League. That's Wonder Woman. And so, literally, the first time watching this, I predicted that the Molten Phantoms were the Justice League. And again, I know it's made primarily for children, potentially. Maybe not for me. But I just thought it was a bit too obvious. That's the kind of thing. Before the unmasking, not who it was, not who the perpetrator was, but the identity of the Molten Phantoms, I think, was a bit too on the nose. I think you could have done a bit more to hide it.
Interesting. I agree that I don't think they exactly gave off villain vibes. They always seem more in pain than anger.
Yeah, and also, swamp gas. I mean, what are we thinking about the whole swamp gas joke? Because I respected it a lot when I first saw it. Like, okay, you've acknowledged something. And it's kind of interesting to know that, like, the only person in common with Return to Zombie Island was producer Jim Krieg, who we did interview. That interview will be in the description down below. But I kind of think that that's interesting as well. So, do you think, to you, does that show... Because I'm a bit torn on this, especially after knowing what I know about Warner Brothers. To you, is that a self-aware nod to the fans, like, we know we messed up, but now we're making a joke about how absurd it is? Or do you think it's almost mocking the way that fans reacted to it? Like, do you think it's growth, or is it just gloating?
I've got a couple of thoughts of this. First of all, I want to say, Krypto's been discussed for a long time, okay? And it also wasn't in the Guess Who art style. Do we assume that this was made closer to Zombie Island and it would have almost gone straight after that?
Maybe not straight after.
Oh, not straight after it, but close enough for it to be more relevant than it is.
I would say even before Courage.
Yeah. So I think, first of all, it's kind of a sign of this movie came later than it was meant to, because we've heard about this for a while. Second of all, I'd say it perhaps is a bit of humour from the writers. I think it's just it's in there to be a joke, perhaps to acknowledge the mistake that I think they all know was made with Zombie Island. But I also want to say that to me, this is one of the bits of the movie that Warner Brothers didn't have too much involvement with. I think the writers put this in here as opposed to Warner Brothers, because the reason I'm mentioning this, and it is relevant, is I think a lot of us can see a common theme over time of when Warner Brothers don't have much involvement, the movies are great. When the higher-ups don't have involvement, the movies are great. Why is Zombie Island such a classic? Because Scooby had died off at the time and people were told they could pretty much do whatever they wanted. So we ended up with this great product. Whereas you can see with this, especially because they're using it as a marketing ploy for DC, that they were so involved, it lacked heart. I think there's so little that dragged all these scenes together that it was very much, you can tell, it was almost a checklist. You can tell it's Warner Brothers saying, we want this villain to appear, this villain to appear, this villain to appear. You have to showcase them in this way. We want something that makes it look cool and interesting, like invisible cars and stuff. Do you know what I mean? I think it was very, here's a huge brief that we want.
A bit, but I'm not sure where the swamp gas really fits in with it. I think you're right, though, ultimately. It's just a sign that this was quite an old movie. And no matter what you say about it, even if this was the best Scooby-Doo movie in ages, I would still say it is a push. Like, it's a step back for the franchise ultimately, because it's a bit like we had to move on. We were clearly going to a new direction of the Guess Who art style, which some people don't like. Some people didn't like the more fluid, zooming in nature of Trick or Treat. But because this was, I guess, so much older than that, they're not going to make another one like this realistically, even if you do like this one a lot. So it just either needs to go back to the Guess Who style or something else entirely, which I'm not sure what that is.
See, I've been itching to dive in as you were speaking there, because I don't think this is a sign of what's to come, and I agree it's a step back. I think this, like you say, was meant to go out a couple of years before it did. And I think that's part of the reason why, and if you didn't want to mention this, you can delete it, but I think that's part of the reason why the movie was dropped online. Because this movie had been debated about so much, it had been heard about so much, and it just wasn't coming out. Someone behind the scenes was scared this movie was just going to get dropped entirely, because I think it had been put off for a long time. So I think that's why it was dropped. And I think it's not a sign of what's to come or a sign of going back. I think this was meant to be out 2 years ago. I think they're going to go to the Guess Who style again in the next movie. But I also think it doesn't help this movie that the one that came out before was Trick or Treat, which is honestly one of the best love stories to the franchise in the last, 6 years.
But also, this is another crossover. And it's such a frustrating situation to be in, where you can, we have to do this with the interviews. Usually we don't put out 2 writers in a row or 2 composers in a row or 2 voiceover artists in a row because it's too much. And even then, say with the Lost City of Gold interviews, back when those were just coming to fruition, it was one a month, one every 2 months, because you have to space things out or there's too much stuff going on. And obviously it's a lot more difficult now because of the SAG-AFTRA strikes. It's near enough impossible to get any voiceover artists on. But like with that, Scooby-Doo, I think a one movie break in between crossovers isn't anywhere near enough. So even if someone's watching this, you don't like Trick or Treat Scooby-Doo, that's fine. I think we should all universally agree that there needs to be more than a 1 movie gap in between crossovers, especially when it's a crossover with an iconic dog. Like if we had the Krypto crossover, to a movie before, let's say, who's famous, a Mr. Beast crossover, maybe, because there'd be radically different videos, radically different movies, but it's iconic dog meets Scooby movie, and then another iconic dog meets Scooby. It's too much.
I'm having to cover my mouth so I don't interrupt you, because especially when in the background of all that you've got a series of crossovers running. Scooby-Doo and Guess Who. New crossover every episode. So when that's the series you're contending with, you need that gap. In fact, I'd go as far as to say there shouldn't have been a crossover movie out while we're working with Guess Who, because that's already overpowering things with a relevant guest that no one really cares about.
It's just, me personally, and I don't like advocating for the cancellation of stuff. Even Velma, like, to be honest, if one person likes Velma, to me, if the studio wants to shell out money, it's a group of animators paid, it's a group of writers paid. Even if that's just for the sake of one person, I'm all for it. But from a business perspective, if I'm Warner Brothers, I would have written this off and used that money to finish off Haunted High Rise.
I 100% agree. To me, Haunted High Rise would have done so much more good than this movie has. I want to quickly wrap up the story so we can then go over our thoughts in full with our verdict.
I think this is the part where it goes off the rails, isn't it? Because we had the Lex Luthor reveal, and then I feel like it does the thing that every superhero thing does, and it takes what could have been somewhat, not nuanced, because, you know, we're not here for a political debate, it's Scooby-Doo, but somewhat, you know, it could have been a different set piece, but it just resorted to a massive battle.
Mm-hmm. It does. You don't just get that natural resolve, you then get that robots fight. Velma thinks that she needs to be involved, and then at that point we finally find out what you'd established ages ago, which is that all these phantoms were the Justice League.
Yeah, it's literally an Avengers Endgame fight. Like, they're fighting over the Phantom Machine here, like they were fighting over the Infinity Gauntlet in Endgame.
I guess this is when Courage does come into his own, though.
Krypto.
That one.
I think Daphne comes into her own more. Like, I like the scene she has. I think that's cool.
But he's the one that fires the thing at the dog.
That was awesome. I like that Rex was a robot. I did not see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
So that was cool. And the fact that the core of Rex is kryptonite, that's awesome. I love that a lot. Everything else, though, it was just kind of happening. It's a shame that we've got the SAG-AFTRA strikes going on right now. Because in truth, I'm not jumping the shark, but the only memorable parts from the movie that I remember are the performances. I think we had...
and how bad Kate Micucci's was.
I think we had substandard writing. I think we had a substandard plot, substandard production. But I think every voice they got on this, including Kate Micucci, although I didn't like the direction she took in, I think they all gave it their all. Like, I don't think there's one voice that stands out as bad. Like, literally, I think Lex, maybe this is a hot take, but I think he steals the show. Like, Lex was easily my favourite character in this, both when he was playing it for laughs and when he finally revealed himself. I feel like Lex carried the movie quite heavily.
Okay.
No Lex, and I think I would have hated her.
So, with everything been said in mind, for you, is this a smash or a pass, and why?
It's an interesting one, because I think it's not awful. I just think it's the definition of meh. It's a fine movie. And if we were doing this like we were before, like if this was part of our weekly schedule, one movie interview a week, I think I would have smashed it because it made me happy for a moment. It made me happy that week compared to some of the others that I had to slog through. But now, I'm a fully grown man. I'm a fully grown boy. I'm a real boy. I have access to a whole entire shelf of Scooby-Doo movies. I'm going to pass this one. Mm-hmm. I love Lex Luthor. Bring him back. Bring Lex back. I want to see Scooby-Doo and Lex 2 if we're going on this crossover thing next. But other than that, I don't think it's Scooby-Doo and Krypto 2, but it's Scooby-Doo and meh. So I'm gonna pass this one. Not a hard pass, it's just not for me. I've got a choice of 50 plus Scooby-Doo movies. This one's never going to be put on in a rush. But what about you, Millie? Would you smash or pass Scooby-Doo and Krypto 2?
I would have to agree with you that this movie is in no way offensive. There's nothing about it that irritates me completely or that I'm really opposed to. What does irritate me and what I am opposed to is the context surrounding this. When we could have had Haunted High Rise, we could have had Scoob Holiday Haunt. We have this business cold thing. And that's all it is. It's a thing, it exists, it's not exciting, it's not good. I'm never gonna watch this again realistically. Honestly as well, because as we said, it was dropped on like line beforehand and stuff. I thought I would enjoy it more based on what I remember from then. I didn't actually enjoy this at all in the second watch through. I in fact fell asleep and had to go back and watch this the next day. It's not bad, it's not offensive, and like you said, if we were doing this every week still, maybe it would have been a smash, because, you know, it was there's nothing that upset me about it, nothing that offended me about it. But now we're deeper into this. We're doing these weekly interviews and speaking to so many people. We're learning more about the community and the things that could have been and should have been. That this is actually insulting to fans to release this when there's so much we'd have wanted to see, just because they want to promote something else. And it's actually on the basis of how insulting I find that this is a definite pass for me.
Yeah, I do want to point out, though, that for the future of Scooby, for all, again, I don't think Warner Brothers deserves it. I think it will send a good message to Warner Brothers if this movie did do really well. So it's a bad message, but I want to say, if you do want to see more Scooby-Doo, it is important that the fans show up to buy this DVD.
But this is why we as fans are in a lose-lose situation. We are in a lose-lose situation because we have to support this so we don't get any more Scooby, but we're having to support this, showing them that they can continue to release this substandard corporate rubbish, because that's all it is it was made as a promotion. It may as well be a TV advert for the movie. That's all it was, is them doing marketing for Super Pets, and then it came out too late to market it.
Yeah. It's a difficult one. It's like you've got an illness, you don't want to die from it, so you have to take this medicine that tastes like a steaming pile of human excrement. It's going to be worth it because you're going to get more life, which you'd assume you'd want, but Jesus, it tastes awful. So yeah, I guess a bit of a negative review. I apologize if you guys really did like the movie. I'm always an advocate of that every single Scooby-Doo movie is going to be someone's favourite. So if it is your favourite, comment down below and let us know why. Definitely looking forward to hearing some dialogue, and we're all Scooby fans at the end of the day, so, you know, hopefully we all show up for this and everyone has a good time. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. If you do want to see more, then please like, comment and subscribe.
JayBee and Milly.